Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Cairo in Egypt. I want to make sure you saw Egypt before I centered the city for you guys. That's a little better, isn't it? Cairo. Cairo is the capital of Egypt. I feel like that's a fact that everyone knows. Even if you don't know geography, you know Cairo's the capital of Egypt, right? That's like the capital of France is Paris. Everyone knows that. The capital of UK is London. Everyone knows that. It's one of those everyone knows Cairo's the capital of Egypt. But did you know that Cairo is the most populous city in the entire continent of Africa? I feel like Kinshasa's coming up eventually. But we'll talk about why in history. I think maybe in 10 years or so it'll be Kinshasa over Cairo. Because there's a reason I think that. Of course, the most famous geographic feature of Cairo is that it is located along the Nile River. And I know we all associate the pyramids with Cairo. The pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza, are in Giza on the other side of the Nile. From Cairo, you can see right there, Pyramids of Giza. So sadly, we're not talking about the pyramids tonight, but I know, before you click off, if you want pyramids, when we go to Google Earth, we're gonna look at the pyramids anyway. How can we not? They're right there. We gotta do it. So don't worry, we will look at the pyramids. But if you have ever looked at the pyramids on Google Earth, you know what? If you've never looked at the pyramids on Google Earth, you might be kind of disappointed. But I'll show you why at the end of the video. But tonight we're talking about Cairo, otherwise known as the City of 1,000 Minarets. I like that. It's really nice. The historic area of Cairo is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So let me grab my tablet. Of course, I forgot to set it up conveniently so that I could just slide it into frame. Here we are. Historic Cairo. It says, tucked away amid the modern urban area of Cairo lies one of the world's oldest Islamic cities, with its famous mosques, madrasas, hammams, and fountains. Founded in the 10th century, it became the new center of the Islamic world, reaching its golden age in the 14th century. Let's see what pictures we have. We will, of course, look at these places on Google Earth. You can see the skyline there. There's a loud car outside. Say hello to the loud car. These beautiful old mosques. These beautiful interiors as well. Beautiful courtyard areas there. Of course, iconic domes everywhere. And one thing I noticed looking at the historic area of Cairo from Google Earth is that it's all very brown and tan. It's all one color. It's just tan colored. And I wonder if that's on purpose. I'm sure it is. I bet just desert sands blowing against things. Maybe once upon a time, like many things in Egypt, it was brightly colored, but over time it's kind of worn. Or it's just the local stone is this kind of sandstone, so that's what they used to build. It's probably a combination of both, but everything is beige in this town, which makes it look far older than it actually is. It's not new, but it's not old. So I think that's a misconception of Cairo. There are places in Egypt far older than Cairo, even Alexandria, which we've already covered. I'll link my Egypt playlist up in the corner for you there. Alexandria is older than Cairo. Giza's way older than Cairo because that's where the pyramids are, right? And Cairo is one of the, I would say kind of one of the newer cities of Egypt, but there's been some cities that have been built in the past 20, 30 years in Egypt, even like the past 10, even the past 5 years. So there are newer places, but this isn't. What I'm trying to say is that Cairo is not a part of ancient Egypt's history. Let's talk about it. One of the original capitals of ancient Egypt was Memphis, which was near here. It's a bit farther south, but not where Cairo is today. Kind of 15 miles like southwest of Cairo today. There was also Heliopolis, another capital for a moment in ancient Egypt. And that was also somewhat nearby, but after being invaded by the Persians a couple times, was eventually abandoned. So the first real settlement in what is today Cairo was by the Romans. They built a fort called Babylon around the year 300 CE. And as the population kind of grew around this fort, it became a center. Eventually, over time, it became a center for Coptic Christianity, which is still practiced in Cairo today. I'll show you the Coptic section of town. It's not where all the Coptic Christians live, it's just where that history is centered. In 641, Islam arrived from the Middle East. It was brought by Amir ibn al-As, and he founded the town of Fustat and built a mosque there. We'll take a look at it on Google Earth. And of course, Cairo and the rest of Egypt has been extremely Islamic ever since. Big part of Egypt's history. Other little towns sprang up in this crook of the Nile here. In the year 750, the town of Al-Askar was founded by the Abbasids. In the year 870, Al-Qatai was founded by a man named Ahman ibn Tulun, who I mentioned by name because we're going to look at the mosque he built as well. But in the year 969, the Fatimids arrived from what's today Tunisia. Hop, skip, and a jump over there. And they founded a palace town called Al-Qahira. You can see Al-Qahira, which is how we get the name Cairo. And for a long time, Al-Qahira was not like a place you could just come and move into. It was only for the royal Fatimids and all of their servants and things. It was a palace complex, right? Think like the Forbidden City in China, but not nearly as big, of course. In the year 1168, fearing that the Crusaders were going to come, Fustat was set on fire. It didn't destroy Fustat, but, it was to be like, don't come here, the city's ruined anyway. And a lot of people wound up moving to other parts, other little towns that would grow. Eventually, Al-Qahira would evolve into its own town, and a lot of people moved into Al-Qahira at this time. I imagine it was the swanky part of the area, right? Eventually, of course, it would grow and grow to absorb all the other little towns that I mentioned to create one big Cairo. And this was cemented by Saladin in 1174 when he arrived here and created the Ayyubid dynasty. He built the big citadel, which of course we'll look at. It's an iconic building here in Cairo. And that was where he reigned. Eventually, though, the power in Cairo was taken over by the Mamluks in the year 1260. It was the Mamluk capital for quite a while. And it was during this time that Cairo became known as a city of Islamic learning and education. One of the, like it said on UNESCO, one of the great Islamic cities. That was like a really big high point in Cairo's history. It would come crashing down in the next 100 years or so. 100 years, like 200 years. Mainly due to the Black Death. There were like a lot of people living here. I want to say around 100,000. I didn't write down the numbers, but it was like massive. It should have been more than that, maybe like 300,000. I'm terrible with numbers still. It was a huge number for the time. So, of course, a plague like that spread intensely throughout the city, killing tens of thousands. People fleeing as well. Created a huge dip in population. Not to mention, in the end of the 1400s, the Europeans are now sailing around Africa instead of coming to the Nile and crossing by land over to the Gulf of Suez here to sail on. Much easier just to stay on the boats and sail around Africa to go to the Indian Ocean. So Cairo vastly declined in importance when it came to trade and commerce as well. To the point where in 1517 the area was absorbed by the Ottoman Empire. And it, was still a big city, just not nearly as prominent as it once was, and not nearly a city of vast importance to the Ottomans. In the year 1798, Napoleon invaded, and the French ruled Cairo until 1801, when Napoleon and his forces were booted out. I forget what video it was, but I was mentioning how one person, Napoleon Bonaparte, changed the course of so many places around the world, and Egypt is no exception to that. So as Napoleon's forces were booted out of Egypt, this power vacuum was left behind, and who would fill it but a war hero, General Muhammad Ali Pasha, who had found the monarchy of Egypt in 1805 and is considered the founding father of modern Egypt, all because of Napoleon. He did so much to change the world, it's really bizarre. But anyway, in 1882, the British invaded, trying to control the Suez Canal over here, which they did. And they would officially rule Egypt and Cairo until 1922. But they didn't technically leave Cairo until 1952. And that was mainly due to the riots, protests that sprung up, the biggest one being called Black Saturday. It was a huge fire. It spread across the city. Led to the big revolution that overthrew the monarchy. The last king abdicated to Jamal Abdel Nasser, who would again change Egypt. But that's another story. Just talking about Cairo, the population was growing all throughout the 20th century. By the 1970s, it was reaching a breaking point. It was very overpopulated. So many other little cities started to be established out here in the desert to try to convince people to leave the big bustling capital and come to, I guess, like little suburb satellite towns. And we'll take a look at New Cairo and the others on Google Earth. Of course, they're kind of interesting. Beautiful planned cities. In 2011, Egypt would once again change during the Arab Spring, a series of protests that spread throughout the Arab world. For some countries, led to some good changes. Some countries led to some terrible events. But thankfully, Egypt did not suffer an extreme fate like Syria or anything like that. In Tahrir Square, huge protests sprung up for the removal of Hosni Mubarak, who did eventually step down. You think that would have created the huge regime change that they wanted, but from what I could tell, not much has changed politically in Egypt, other than the rule being passed from one man to another. The current ruler of Egypt, al-Sisi, in 2014 declared there would be a new capital of Egypt because Cairo was just way too overcrowded. So far, it's called the New Administrative Capital, and it's still being built out in the desert. It looks really cool on Google Earth. It looks absolutely beautiful from above. I hope that will eventually translate to ground level because it's beautifully laid out from above. But I'm hoping it gets a name soon. New Cairo's already taken by one of the satellite cities. I hope it gets a good name. It reminds me, because I'm a hockey person, how we got a new team in Utah, but they founded the club before they picked a name, so for a whole season it was called Utah Hockey Club. It's awful. New administrative capital is a terrible name, and I hope someday we get a name for it. So eventually, Cairo won't be the capital of Egypt. Can you believe that? I mean, it's happened to lots of other countries like Brazil, Nigeria. It's happening in Indonesia. They're building a city outside Jakarta. It's happened many times around the world where new capital cities were built. Myanmar. I'm trying to think of others, but I know there's many, many more. But yes, that is essentially the history of Cairo. So I know when we think Egypt, we think hieroglyphs and pharaohs and things like that. That was not Cairo's story, even though I put cool hieroglyph stuff in the title. I could not. That's not Cairo's story. You know, that's the story of many other places all down the Nile and up in the Delta, but not in Cairo. Cairo's history is very new compared to other places in Egypt. So if you ever want to sound smart, you can be like, did you know that Cairo was actually founded in the 10th century? Not like 4000 BCE or anything like that. It's interesting. But yeah, that's the history of Cairo. We have a lot to see on Google Earth. I need to stop rambling and turn out the lights and grab my tablet so we can check out Cairo on Google Earth. Let's go. Here we are in, I forgot to tell you, it's Cairo Governorate. Administrative divisions in Egypt are called governorates. There's Cairo Governorate. You can see all the satellite cities out there. And then there's big Cairo there. But let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Here is the beautiful Nile Delta. Very easy to spot from above, and the lush Nile River all down there. We are, of course, in Africa. Egypt is also pretty easy to find because it's in the upper right-hand corner. You can see the Sinai Peninsula. They're also very prominent and easy to spot from above. There's the big, long, beautiful Nile River, the world's longest river, although that is debatable. The Amazon is a very close second, if not first. But that's debatable. And here's Cairo. So I feel like another misconception of Cairo is that it's along the coast, and it is not. Alexandria, it's along the coast, but Cairo is at like the spot where the delta fans out, where the river starts to spread and create all of this big lush farmland. So let's go to one of my bucket list places. If I ever go to Cairo, and I'm determined to do so someday, I'll show you the first place I'm going to go, if it will load. Google Earth has been giving me some problems. It does not like loading in this room. Here we go. It is, of course, the Egyptian Museum, the world's largest collection of ancient Egyptian artifacts, including, if it'll pop up, the treasures of King Tutankhamun. So here we go. So I can't wait to come here someday. It's like if I had to pick one museum to visit in the world, it would be this one. With all of these wonderful treasures preserved in the land where they were created, right? I've been to the Rosicrucian Egyptian Museum in San Jose, California, and that was amazing. It was a lot like this. I figure that's just a tiny fraction of what this museum holds. Look at that. So cool. We saw him in my intro. Wow. So many cool stuff. Let me know in the comments if you as a kid went through an ancient Egypt phase. I went through one briefly, but that turned into an ancient Greek phase. My sister went through a huge ancient Egypt phase, though. Tell me no, like blah blah blah. Let me I'm too excited. Let me know if you were an ancient Egypt kid or an ancient Greek kid, or what nerdy history facts were you into as a kid? I turned into a Titanic kid too. There he is. The young pharaoh himself, King Tut, died tragically young. And since he died very suddenly and at a very young age, I think he was like 19. There he is. Oh, wow. Oh, sorry. That was my elbow on the desk. He died very suddenly, unexpectedly. His tomb wasn't built yet because he had like just been crowned like 3 years earlier. So they had a little tunnel dug out for a different pharaoh, and they just tossed him in there with all of his grave goods, sealed it up. So it wasn't an like official fancy tomb like all the other pharaohs got. So all the grave robbers didn't notice it and it went ignored. So in 1922, when it was rediscovered, everything was in place. The only tomb where that was true, that we know of. There could be so many others out there. You can get fish and chips at the museum. But yeah, over here is Tahrir Square. And now listen. See if we can get a slideshow for it. Tahrir Square. Slideshow for Tahrir Square, please. Slideshow for Tahrir Square. I guess not. There is one, but it's not popping up. But, okay, I don't want to nitpick. I don't want to nitpick, you guys. Nothing against Cairo. Nothing against the Egyptians. This isn't a square. Okay. Not to be picky. I don't think you should call a place a square if it's a circle. I'm just saying. I know it's a very important part of Cairo. Very beloved. I don't understand why the slideshow isn't popping up for it. It's probably just not loading. But listen. I think it should just be called Tahrir Circle. Circles are very important in ancient Islamic architecture. It's not even slightly a square. If anything, it's kind of star-shaped. It's everything but a square. So I'm just saying, there's a mosquito in here. Oh my gosh, do you guys hear it? That was crazy. Like, it's appropriate. I probably just got bit by him. You guys. I think I just killed a mosquito. I think I just caught it. Oh my gosh. That was wild. Okay, well that happened on camera. Appropriate for Nile River. Mosquito coming by. Also over here, this is another little modern area here of Cairo. This is Jazeera Island, right? Yeah, Jazeera Island. Since the Nile River was dammed, these islands don't flood over. We can build all kinds of fancy things on here. Over here is the Cairo Opera House. It was originally built during the British occupation, but it burned down and was rebuilt. So it looks more Egypty now, right? It looks more Egyptian. I imagine it used to look more European. I haven't seen any pictures of what it looked like before it burned down, but it definitely looks more Egyptian themed today. Nearby is the Cairo Tower. Now here's another complaint I have, but nothing to do with Egypt and everything to do with Google. Cairo isn't in 3D, you guys. Look at this. Cairo's not in 3D. The entire city. Can you look at Cairo Tower? Look at its long shadow. Look at this. There's 2 slideshows for Cairo Tower. Look at it. It's like the Eiffel Tower, you guys. It's massive. Look at it. You can see all of Cairo out there from the view. Beautiful mosaics. Some good food. Look at it. It's huge. Why don't they have it in 3D? Look at this kid says so. But it's beautiful. Look at it. Kind of blurry picture there, the Nile. But why isn't Cairo in 3D? Google's got some splaining to do. This is one of the most important cities in the world, and they haven't got it in 3D yet. That's shocking to me. Big Egyptian eagle there. It's on the flag of Egypt, too. Look how beautiful. And all the modern buildings around it. There's the opera house we saw. But yeah, I'm like shocked. Shocked, I tell you. That Cairo's not in 3D. That is horrible. Alright, let's go see. We should see a palace. I think this is my favorite one. There's a lot of palaces throughout Cairo. Yeah, this is my favorite one. Of course, it's a museum today. All very European. Looks like Buckingham Palace on steroids with all the cannons. My goodness. Even a suit of armor. It's so extra. But yeah, one of the reasons for revolution and all of that, once your monarchy reaches this stage, you're in trouble. Marie Antoinette can tell you that. All the little pistols. So tiny. And then big cannons. Oh, and pretty swords too. Here in the weapon room. It is a museum after all. But yeah, there's lots of palaces here. And, like I always say, highly, highly encourage you to come here and check this place out for yourself. Because there's so many neat things to find. So over here is the old town, which you can see. Like I said, it's all very beige. Very, very, very beige. And, yeah, you can see modern, busy Cairo. Old-timey Cairo. You can even see all the old walls, and many of the gates are still intact. Anything that says Bob in front of it, let's find one. Of course, now they're not popping up. Now they're not. Why is Google Earth letting me down so much? Why is Google Earth letting me down so much? There we go. My goodness. All the old gates are still here. Oh, that's a cool photograph. And it looks all very medieval, doesn't it? Because it was built in medieval times, during the Crusader times. With Saladin and all that. If you don't know who Saladin was, very important figure in the Middle Ages, I suppose. And this is what he left behind in Cairo, which is not in 3D. The Saladin Citadel. Big, beautiful, mainly mosque, but also palace. It was the government center for a long, long time. Like all of Egypt was ruled from here. Big, tall minarets, statues, all the old towers there, fortifications. Oh, pretty. With the moon out, that's perfect. Yeah, all ornate and beautiful. It's a lovely building. And, of course, now there's a gate. Now they pop up. But there's lots of museums in here. We're not going to go through all of the things in here, but I would encourage you to check it out yourself, because there's lots of cool stuff to see in the old town of Cairo. Let's see, I promised you guys some mosques like this one. Remember I mentioned Ibn Tulun. So this would have been around where the town he founded, Al-Qatai, is located. And this was the mosque that he built in like the center of his town. Big old minaret there. I like those unconventional minarets that aren't just big skinny towers. That's cool with the staircase on the outside like that. So yeah, very, very old mosque, but not as old as this mosque over here. Sorry for the dogs barking outside. They're popping off. Gosh, look how big the city is. I have to remember where everything is. It's so big. Reminds me of when we were in Buenos Aires, and just like, look how much there is. There's so much city. I don't think we're in the right place. there's Fustad. Right, and then over here, this is the oldest mosque in Egypt, one of the oldest mosques in Africa, the Amir ibn al-As Mosque. And it's so well preserved, isn't it? Look, it's beautiful. You would have never guessed that this was built over 1,000 years ago. Not at all. Look at this. Huge. Little palms there. So neat. View from the Nile River. If you were in it, that's what it would look like. And then right over here is the Coptic area. There's the Coptic Museum, but I want to show you one of the old churches here. Ooh, it's very dark. It is the better day. Much more lit. But it's very, very old church. I wonder if it says in the little caption when it was built. Probably, I want to say like the 500s. It is a very old church. All brick too, really neat, and all the old art. There's a little kitty. Let me see, does it say? Nope, it just, to the 4th century. I was right, yes. Nailed it. And here's the Fortress of Babylon. Or at least what's left of it. So this is where Cairo began. Everything spread out from this spot. Isn't that so interesting? There's lots of shots from the churches here. But yeah, Roman Tower. This is where Cairo began. And it turned into all this. Crazy, right? Wild. There are lots of other cool things in Cairo proper to show you, but those are the ones I wanted to show you the most. I figured those are the most important in terms of history, but there's so many other cool things to see around town. Of course, as always, I highly, highly encourage you to check out this city. It's so neat. There's so much to see. All these palaces. There's one right there. I dropped a pin. Goodness. All right. But let's check out some of the satellite cities in the governorate. See, here's New Cairo. And look how pretty it is from above. All these new buildings. It looks like a cloth design. It looks woven into the ground, doesn't it? It's really neat. I don't know if they intended it to look like that from above. But I love all the little designs and patterns there. It's really neat. Over here, you can see it's still being built, right? They're still working on it. But over here, we have the new capital. So let's see what they've got so far. Or else Equatorial Guinea is also building a new capital city that we can watch from above as they build it. Let's see, where are we right now? International school for the new capital. Yeah, that looks like education. Something's going to go right there. Lots of homes. That's another satellite city. Oh, and look at this. This is going to be the new center of defense. You heard of the Pentagon. Here's the Octagon. This is this is going to be, you can see they need a couple more places, but where the defense is going to be, I guess, housed. But look at this pretty housing area from above. It's gorgeous. We've got, look at this. Whatever that's going to be, it just looks like a big old park, to be honest. These beautiful buildings. Let's see. Some More stuff down here. Looks like more housing. Of course, now I can't find like any of the things. Like something's being built here. This big roundabout. They're working on it. Okay, here you can see new administrative capital. The worst name, but look at all of this. They've got all of this beautiful green space, all these designs. Look at all this. The new presidential palace. So fancy. Look at the ankh and the lotus flower there. Goodness. This just big outdoor area, just a big arch. It's just a big arch. And then it's this Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's just all like government buildings and things, right? A big tower, the People's Square. Another pretty lotus design in the ground there. Like they're building all kinds. Of course, you need a big old mosque, beautiful garden there. And then, where was it? Is it down here? Oh, it looks like regular houses, but there's where they're building a mall. Diplomatic club. Where was it? I came across them building an Olympic city, and I was like, Cairo's not hosting no Olympics. Like, what? But it turns out they're building it in case if they get, they pitch an idea for the Olympics or a FIFA World Cup. They already have everything, apparently. I can't find it now. I know it was around here somewhere. Sports club. No, they had all these, like, stadiums and stuff built. It definitely looked like a FIFA World Cup venue because it had a bunch of stadiums. And now, of course, I can't find it. Somewhere out here in the desert. But yeah, building all kinds of stuff. This will be a place to keep an eye on in the future. Observatory there. It's pretty neat. Oh, here it is. Olympic. Yeah, Capitol Stadium. Olympic City. See, look at all the stadiums. They are ready for an Olympics. They got the pools there. Well, I think that's housing. But, yeah, they're set for a World Cup or an Olympics out here. Well, they will be eventually. Crazy, right? Wild. So that will eventually be the capital of Egypt someday. Now, I did promise you all some pyramids, right? We can't not. It was very annoying to look up what should I look at in Cairo, and all the websites were like, the pyramids. Number one, go see the pyramids. The pyramids aren't in Cairo. But like, you can't not, right? But here's the thing, you guys. Here's the pyramids, right? How many pyramids are there? Just, everyone knows this. There's 3. 1, 2. There's the third one, you guys. It's not in 3D. Why? Why? Who? Someone's responsible for this. How come? And then, look, okay. The Great Pyramid of Giza. This looks awful in 3D. It's a bunch of, they can't make it perfect, but they can make it not look like this. It looks like a really bad, look at this. It looks awful in 3D. I have to remember this is ASMR, and I have to tone it down. This looks horrible. This is the pyramids, you guys. Come on, Google. And I'm like, well, surely they got the Sphinx right. Surely the Sphinx looks good, right? It's the Sphinx. It's not in 3D. It looks horrible. Why would you do that? Why did they only make 2 pyramids in 3D? Why? Look at this poor, it looks so small. And it's not small at all. Look, it looks like a dwarf pyramid. I almost said a dwarf planet. I don't know where this is coming from. I'm so upset about this. Why would they do this? It's the pyramids. It's like one of the most famous places on planet Earth. And they can't make it look even a little bit good. Not even a little. This pyramid looks fine, but then you've got like, it just can't handle, I guess, pyramid shapes. It can't handle it. It looks horrible. Come on, Google. So it's like, okay, yeah. We can't, I'm sorry, that's my elbow being placed on the desk. We can't not look at the pyramids when we visit Cairo, but the pyramids look awful. So listen, Giza starts with a G. I imagine we're not going to talk about Giza for a long time on my channel. Google, I expect you to have these pyramids and the Sphinx looking immaculate by the time we cover Giza, okay, Google? That's up to you. You've got time. You know, don't rush it. I'm just saying, by the time I get to Giza, this better look good. That's all I gotta say. Alright, I'm gonna stop there. Let's just look at Cairo's slideshow while we end the video. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little crazy, but it's Cairo. I get excited talking about Cairo because it's on my bucket list. I want to go here so bad. If you've been to Cairo, tell me all your stories. Tell me the best part in the comments. Tell me your adventures. I want to hear all about it. But also don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down below. Hashtag make Cairo 3D. Come on. Come on. That's ridiculous that it's not in 3D. Next on the channel, we're going to beautiful Peru. And we are going to see a town that is very important in the history of the Incan Empire. I guess you could say, like, Cairo doesn't have the ancient history. This town in Peru does have an extremely ancient history. And it's the place where the Incan Empire ended. We are actually going to look at the room where it happened, where the Incan Empire ended. Crazy, I know, but we're going to see that next, so be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I do hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. Goodness. And I hope that you have a good night. Good night.